as with what I do every week with the weekly episode. And just wonderful day that we had today, and a beautiful day that it turned out. And it's one of those things that, as I always do, give a shout out to our sponsor, that being Tabala's Food for Thoughts with Jasper Axelrad. And with the collaboration piece that Jasper and with what Tabala does, it's a beautiful thing to see the coming together to showcase small businesses, to go out there and allow on and share their stories and really show who they are behind the business. A lot of time individuals don't take the opportunity to step out. They don't take the time to show up, show the transparency, and just really get that story out to other individuals. And so this upcoming week, because of Tabala and Jasper, we'll go and do a live stream on Tuesday morning with Train with Joe. So that's going to be an amazing thing. And then we do have a new sponsor that is going to be coming on, and we will actually be going out there with Two Native Sons, myself and Patrick, and showcasing and sharing the new sponsor that's coming on that allows us to do the different things. This is one of the opportunities that allows us in regards to myself with doing the podcast. It's a passion of mine to utilize this platform to create content, but it's also one of those things that a lot of people will end up doing and don't ever find ways to make sure that income's coming in to comp them and continue to be able to show up. Because a lot of times money can be an issue where people run into a lack of money and then they're stressing. And so they can't go and fulfill and put out their passion and what they would like to do. But as we're growing the channel, and part of what I do within Two Native Sons is the coaching piece, sitting down with individuals and helping them go through from their baseline, whatever that is, to thriving within whatever area that is. My biggest focus, and with the Journey Beyond Divorce, it's the podcast that really focusing on the relationship piece, looking at things that I really jacked up when I was married, and then looking at my journey after divorce and what I've gone through and what I've learned and the growth piece that has taken place. And so that's the beautiful thing, that within life, there's always a chance to sit down and talk to people and really share nuggets. But it comes down to the fact that you've got to get out of your own way. You've got to quit being fearful and show up, have that transparency piece, the vulnerability piece, and really go play out big, play big, and show up. Because you have a message that somebody else needs to hear. Who that is, you don't know. And so you don't want to miss out on an opportunity to really provide that nugget that somebody is looking for, searching for, that they need, that's going to help them to adjust and go and make those adjustments within their life to reach that next point, whatever that is. And so with Two Native Sons, because I fall under that, building that business and whatnot, this is part of that. If you haven't had the chance yet, when I live stream, this is something that goes to our YouTube channel, to our Twitch channel. So in the bottom here, you can see Tabala being highlighted for the sponsorship aspect, but also with our YouTube channel. Go find Two Native Sons on YouTube. Go like, follow, subscribe, share it. And then on Twitch, we have the Twitch channel. So it's right there in the little block that highlights it. So you can go check it out and whatnot. But it was interesting because when I look, and today I had my coaching class, and one of the things that has been talked about is we have the opportunity that as we're going through, as we're growing, as we're making changes to get to where we need to go, where we want to be within our life, overcoming whatever obstacles it is, not allowing the setback to dictate who we are, but using that setback to create your comeback and really create a huge story and go make a big difference in the world because of what you've gone through, the challenges that you've overcome, and what that does for you to give back and really share that message and those tools with somebody else. And so one of the things that was talked about is you can go play in your own sandbox. And so life is one of those things that it's your sandbox. And why not go in there and live out life as you would like to live it out? But so many people get to this point where they're playing by the script that somebody else has created for them. And so are you going and living your life based on this script that somebody else has written for you? Or are you going to tear that script up, throw it to the side, and jump in your sandbox and start doing whatever you want to? If you've ever seen kids in a sandbox, it's a beautiful thing. They're in there and they're just doing what they want. They'll go build, they'll go bury themselves, they'll go bury toys. They just have fun and they're enjoying life. And so I look at it in regards that this is your Lego set that you get to play with, and you get to determine what you're going to build. And it's unique because if you've looked at the newer, my kids, my youngest ended up getting this Eevee Lego set. So if you know about Pokemon, but anybody that's listening to the podcast right now, you really can't see it. But the interesting thing is with the new Lego kits, they have it cut out where it is set up to specifically come out with the end product, the end result, whatever that is. And so you really don't have much room to potentially receive this and say, screw this, I ain't building Eevee. I'm going to go build whatever I want, some funky looking alien for all I know, and really create how I want it. And so you do have the opportunity that somebody's created the instruction manual that you can go follow and whatnot. But the thing that you got to come across is that instruction manual that you've been given, does that cover and does that suffice who you are as an individual? Or do you need to look at maybe saying, okay, here's the rules, here's instructions, but let me adjust it a bit. Let me look and see what I can tweak that's going to fit me. Because the older style blocks that we have with Legos and whatnot are these jumbo blocks. And so they're a little bit bigger and whatnot. But as you can see, you can build them however you want. You can make some crazy structure and create something that, who knows, maybe you put some wires and some motors in here and you just build and you create a living robot or whatever you want to do. But it's one of those things that you get to use your imagination with what you're going to create, what you're going to be able to put together. And so that's the beautiful thing of life. Right now, I look at it because when I went through my divorce, I didn't know who I was. And so you are going and potentially playing by the rules of somebody else. You're doing whatever you saw in movies and TVs, maybe from your parents, from friends, anything like that. And so it's one of those things that, yeah, what's suffice for them, covering them, may not be for you. And so that's the aspect that you get to go and break it down and start looking at the parts and start rebuilding it and creating how you want that to occur. And so it's the piece of your imagination, your thoughts. How do you see stuff? How do you want to create it? What do you want the end result to be? And I was looking because one of the things that we hear a lot is the average, it's like 60,000 thoughts that individuals will have in a daily basis. And when you think about that, 60,000 is a lot. And so there was actually a study that they had accomplished July of last year. Let me see here. I'm looking it up, but because I was interested, because somebody did ask, they're like, where are we getting this information where we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day? And what I came across, and I think it was on this phone. Let me see here. Nope, it wasn't that one. It was this one. So do apologize there. Let me see what we have coming up. But it was interesting because this was from Newsweek. This was as of July 15th, 2020. So July of last year. And they said humans have more than 60,000 thoughts per day, psychologists discovered. And what they did was they were looking and they're seeing that it's called a thought worm. And so they look at it when the thought starts to when it ends. And so they call that a thought worm and whatnot. And it's the unique thing that On average, it's about 6,200 thoughts a day that an individual has. But if you think about it, how many of those thoughts are you having control over? How many of those thoughts are you really looking at and breaking it down and creating an outcome that you want to have? How are you going about with those thoughts that are occurring and shifting them to fit what you need? Are you stacking these thoughts that, think about it, if you've got, on average, if you've got 6,200 thoughts, are you stacking all those 6,200 thoughts to be in the negative direction? And that's a lot of very deep things when you think about it, that if you're stacking 6,200 thoughts that are going in the negative direction, you end up waking up and you're like, man, this day's going to suck. And so there's one thought that you stack, and then you look at yourself in your mirror and you're like, man, I look horrible. So you stack another thought, and just think about that effect that it could have on you by the fact of 6,200 thoughts that you've stacked to be this very large barricade for you in a negative route. And so this goes into the play that you have these Legos that you're able to build and create however you want to do with them. And we have so many people that end up going on autopilot, and they really don't do a deep dive. They don't look at the impact of their thoughts, what that can do to them as an individual based on how those thoughts are occurring and how they're looking at them and how they're stacking. Oh man, so many people just go through the motions and end up allowing the thoughts just to come without really stepping in and trying to break that flow. And so sometimes you've got to be very aware, and you've got to be mindful about those thoughts that you're having, because if not, and you're just letting them run rampant and just letting them do whatever they want on autopilot, it's not good for you. And so it's one of those things that you have to be aware. But I've talked about this a couple of times. And so with your thoughts are going to lead to your feelings. Your feelings are going to lead to your actions. Actions are going to lead to your results. And so think about that. If you're stacking, so starting with your thoughts, if you're stacking these negative thoughts, and there's 6,200 thoughts that you've had in the day, and you're stacking them, and they're all negative as the phones are going off here. It's good times. So let me turn this down so we don't have any more dings and all the notifications going off. But think about that, though. If you're going through life and it's 6,200 thoughts that you're stacking that are negative, how do you think that impacts you when it comes to your feelings? And man, just how much of a drain and how much of a pull down that can have on you by having all these negative thoughts. And then your feelings of just feeling like garbage, feeling like shit, and just looking at it, you're like, man, what do I need to do? What can I do and whatnot? And now think about you feeling that way. What type of actions are you going to take? If you got big dreams and big goals and you want to change your life, how are you going to change your life if your feelings are just feelings of, man, I'm a piece of garbage, this is shit? How's that going to work out for you? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to work out. You're not going to be able to get the life that you want because of your feelings. And then so the actions that you're taking are very limited. You're looking and you're like, why even try? Why should I even do this? And so look at the results that you're receiving. And so it's a beautiful thing, because now when you think about that, your thoughts, these are your bricks. These are your Legos that you're able to play with. And you can start building them how you want. You can start building your house. You can start building the life that you want based on your thoughts. And thoughts are very powerful. And so when I look at it, because the fact of when I went through my divorce, I had these thoughts that I wasn't worthy. And so that doesn't help the cause when I'm trying to go do different things, trying to create a better life for myself, trying to build a business. Having that thought's not going to be very good, because that thought of I'm not worthy is going to play into a feeling of I'm not worthy. So why even try? Why go out there and play full out? Why even go and talk to this person if I don't feel I'm worthy? And so because I have those feelings and the thoughts that have occurred, my actions are going to be ones that I don't want. But because of that, and I'm taking actions that I don't want, my results are ending up going right along with the actions that I'm not taking. So my results are garbage. They're horrible. So it's one of those things that, okay, start breaking that down. Start breaking down your paradigm. Start breaking down your beliefs. Start breaking down your limiting beliefs and start pulling those bricks out. Find things in those bricks that you can take and throw forward, and then build a new set, build something different, because there's always things within the situations, within the different experiences that you have, that you can take little bits, pieces, little bricks, because with Legos, it's one of those things. You'll have some single pieces. You'll have like a 4x8 platform. You'll have a block of just 2 dots. You have one of the squares that's a 2x2. And so it's, as you're going through, think about that. Think about the imagination and the creativity you had as a kid when you got Legos. You were getting these blocks and you're starting to build them, and you've rocket ship, and you're like, man, I can go to town. Or you've created a race car, created a robot, and that robot's going to go take over the world. So it's the same thing with your thoughts. How are your thoughts impacting you? Are your thoughts going to allow you to go conquer and overcome and do what you want to do? Get to the point where you want to get? Or are your thoughts controlling you and holding you back? And are you going in there to shake it up, to push and look at it a little bit differently? But this is the thing. Your life is your laboratory. You get to go experiment. You get to go try different things. You get to go into these spots and really find out what doesn't serve you, what beliefs don't serve you. What can I start tearing down and rebuilding up and bring into the forefront, bring into the marketplace, bring into the table, and really doing things, doing different things. And then as you're going through building, if that mechanism, or if you've got this EV that looks like an alien and whatnot that you've created, and you get it out there and you're like, that doesn't serve me, that doesn't do anything. Now I've got to tear it down and let me do something different. Let me see what I can do in regards to taking what's there and reshuffling it, breaking it down, and taking this eye off and we'll put an arm there, or taking this eye off and we'll put a 2x2, a little small square block in that place. And then we'll have the eyeball go wherever we want. And so it's interesting how you are the individual that can be the creator. You can end up taking your blocks and building whatever you want, creating something different, creating what you see. And so the beautiful thing is, as you're building, you've got to go put forth action. And so you take the blocks and you don't look at it and be like, okay, become an ace. And so if you're looking at cards and whatnot, you're starting to draw cards and you draw a 10. And so we're kind of going over here, but just kind of go with the different ways that I look at things. And so you're drawing and you're building. And then as you're drawing cards, you get a 10. But you're like, man, I need an ace. So you're not going to look at this 10 and be like, be an ace. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to go take forth action. And so maybe that's a 10 that you don't want. But you can look at it and be like, okay, what can I learn from this? What can I do going forward to adjust? And so now here's your thoughts. Okay, what can I do with this card that was given? What can I do with the blocks that I've torn apart? And what can I build? And so now here's your thoughts. And then as you're asking yourself those questions, you're going to start having these different feelings. And then you're starting to imagine, you'll be like, man, if I place this block here and have a different foundation, what can that do to this outcome with this relationship? So maybe that block is a communication piece, or maybe that block is a love language piece. And so you're going through and you thought your love language was quality time. And so you're like, okay, let me put it here. I thought it was quality time, but let me take that block and put it here. And let me test it. Oh, yeah, that really doesn't fit me. So let me shift it around and say, okay, there was another block here and it's acts of service. Okay, let me try that. Oh, okay, that fits perfectly. So it's one of those things that you've got to go through and you've got to do the research. And it's one of those things we've talked about love languages before, or appreciation languages, however you want to name it, however you want to call it and whatnot. But it's the power of being able to do the research, really finding what truly sticks for you, what really is going to drive that boat, drive the car to that location that you need to go. And as I'm going through my journey and working in different groups within Facebook, being part of different Facebook groups, it's unique when you come across other podcasters. So I'll actually be this Saturday upcoming the 23rd. I'm actually going to be a co-host, a guest on somebody else's podcast. It's a gentleman. He went through a divorce, or he's going through it. And so it's interesting to see his perspective, see how he speaks on it, see how he looks at different things. But there were some correlations in regards to things that I've brought up, things that I've thought and have shared before. And then to hear him share it, I'm like, man, there's some correlation here. So it's a unique thing, because one of the things that was talked about, and the piece of, as guys, we suck with our emotions. I've talked about this before, that we suck. And so we've got to remember that while we're growing up, we've been told to man up. We don't show emotions, anything like that. So it all gets buried. And so think about that. It's been this instruction booklet that with your Legos you're building, and you're like, okay, I need a man up, so let me build it this way. I'm not supposed to show emotion, so let me build it however that is. Let me follow this instruction guideline that somebody's been providing me, and it doesn't fit me. And so now I've got to go do some research. Let me go look and say, okay, get rid of that instruction booklet that's been here, that's been stuffed in my head, and let me start rebuilding it. Let me start recreating it. Let me start figuring out what's going to be best for me. And so that's where you're in your sandbox, you're in your lab, you're building, you're constructing, you're figuring out what's going to be best for you. And so it's one of those powerful things that go and build with your Legos, go and create with your Legos. Your Legos are your Legos. Go and build, go play in your sandbox, create the sandcastle, build that moat around the mountains that people said that moat doesn't belong there. Go do it. Like, this is your sandbox. Go do what you need to. And so today, hanging out with my girls, and with my kids and whatnot, and they're playing video games. And so it's interesting how we're looking at the aspect of we're letting outside factors control how we feel. And so both my daughters will get very upset if the game isn't going the way they want it to, or they're losing, all that craziness. And I look at them, I'm like, it's a video game. So what's the purpose of getting mad at it? Like, you're allowing that game to control your emotions. You're allowing that game to control how you're seeing things. And so it's one of those aspects too. It's like using Legos, building how you want. So if you ever saw the Lego movie, they were master builders, so they would end up seeing pieces and whatnot, and then imagining, like, their mind would go out there and be like, okay, take this piece, put it here, take this piece, put it here, and this is the outcome of what happens. And so when you think about it, that the master builder piece here, you're looking at the situation, you're finding different things that can go in place here and there. You're using your imagination and creating that final outcome, creating that piece that is really driving you, that's really speaking to you. And so look at it, go back and be like, okay, what can I learn from this situation? What blocks can I take from this situation going forward to rebuild with? What can I do in regards with the aspect of what's going on? How can I use this setback to set up and create my comeback? And so it's a beautiful thing. And I look at it because I was on Facebook scrolling and came across a post. Somebody was asking about marriage counselors. And so I'm looking and I'm thinking, and this was something that Garrett's talked about, and it really stuck out because Garrett was talking about, he's heard it before, where people will talk in regards, they'll go through counseling, and that's a great thing to work as a couple and whatnot. But then he's actually shared it that he'll hear people that along with the counseling, they go and find a coach, or they go find somebody that they do the work on themselves. They work on themselves as an individual. And it's powerful to hear these individuals that, yeah, they've got the counseling. It goes hand in hand very well with coaching. And people talk, they're like, man, I've learned a lot more and I've grown as a person by that coaching piece, by being by myself and working on myself. And it's very, very unique in regards, because I was watching the comments. I did reach out to the gentleman and whatnot, but it's interesting to really see the comments that people are putting out there. Like, okay, here's a counselor, this and that. And I found it because I had pointed out, I told the gentleman, I was like, first off, I want to commend you for reaching out and asking for help. Being an individual that I've gone through my own divorce, I understand the struggle, the struggle that you're dealing with potentially internally. It's going to be different for everybody, but if you've never gone through the divorce before, it's hard for you to really have that empathy and to give that space to somebody, because you just don't know. You haven't had the experience. It's the same thing when people have a family member that dies or a close one that dies, and then you have individuals that are reaching out that have never experienced that feeling. You go about and you're like, I can imagine how you're I've never experienced it, but I can only imagine how you're feeling and whatnot. And so it's one of those tough things to really connect with somebody, to be able to hold space for somebody, because people really are so drawn and so quick to run and not be there for individuals, because trying to sit and give space to others, it can be a very scary thing, because as you're sitting and giving space to somebody else and they're doing what they need to, you end up sitting there and you start thinking, and things can come up. And if you're not ready for the things that are popping up, it can be tough to be there for the other person. But yeah, so no, it's one of those unique things. So like I said, I had to commend the gentleman for reaching out and asking for help, because that ultimately is that first step. Instead of trying to do everything on your own, you've got to look for help. You've got to ask for help, because to stay strong, sometimes you need that help. Sometimes you're limited by your experiences, and that's all you know. So find other people you can connect with. But I ended up just sharing with him and said, hey, commend you for what you're doing. Was curious if it was him that had this idea, or if it was him and his wife that had the idea together that we need to go to counseling. And so I just shared that as you're doing that work together as a couple, you also need to be mindful and be aware of doing the work for yourself as an individual, because a lot of people don't think about that. They don't look at the bigger picture of working on yourself. And so that's why I'm very big, and I always talk about the relationship that we have to work on is a relationship with ourselves. And so you've got to complete yourself. You got to be the individual that loves yourself, that you give yourself love, because if you're able to love yourself, flaws, quirks, your laughing at dad jokes, whatever it is, if you can love yourself, imagine how powerful that is by being able to be around somebody else and give them love, because you're able to love yourself. You're showing up as your true, authentic self. Imagine how powerful that is when you fully embrace yourself, what you can do for other people. And it's just the thought of, you're on an airplane. They talk about it. If the oxygen mask drop down, you need to put yours on first and then help other people out. So it's the same thing here, that you've got to work on the relationship with yourself. That's your oxygen mask. You've got to take care of yourself before you go and help other people out. But we got individuals that are out here that haven't done it, but they're trying to love other people. They're trying to really pour into other people, and it doesn't work out because you're empty. You're missing something. You're not giving yourself something, but you're trying to give that to somebody else. And it can be a tough task. And then you get to the point where you just burn yourself out and you're just emotionally drained, because you're going through that part of trying to pour out to other people when you're not even pouring into yourself and taking care of yourself and whatnot. So just some things to think about. I think this may have been a shorter episode, which it's all good. Things just kind of resonate, things kind of pick up and whatnot. But you as an individual, these are your Lego blocks. Your life, your build. You understand what you need. You are the expert of your own life. And so take the Lego blocks that you have and build and do what you need to. But if you need help, reach out, ask. And so, as I always tell people, if you like to talk, you have anything going on, within the show notes, I've got the email address that you can reach out, send an email. But if not, it's let me put it in here if it's gonna work. There we go. Yep. So your name. All right, so I just put the email here, which it's showing. Oh, there we go. So Twitch and YouTube, Facebook's not showing up. All right, cool. But on Facebook, hit me up on Messenger, hit me up on my personal page, hit me up on the divorce group that was able to build that tribe, that environment, and whatnot. But there's that email address there that you can hit me up at. But it's just some things to consider. I think a lot of times we end up trying to let other things control us instead of building and being the master of our life and taking the blocks that we have and using those blocks to build. We look outside of ourselves and we try to find things, other places to go and do what we need to and whatnot. So just understand that you've got the blocks to play with. You may have to tear them down and rebuild with them, but that's okay. What you need to, and really do that deep dive. So let's go ahead. I'll pull up Poddex here real quick. We'll run through a couple questions just because I look at Poddex as another that opens up the doorway for things that aren't normally talked about or considered, and it just is a different side of the individual. So for myself, it's a different side. Just kind of look at it and think of things that aren't normally asked and whatnot. So let's see here. There was the new deck that came up. It's hypothetical questions. And so pull this up here. Let's see what we got going on. Let's see. If you could merge two games together and make a new one, what games would you choose and what would be the result? So for like board games, I don't know. So this is a thing, but when I look at it, honestly, I would say let us go ahead and merge Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with basketball. And that would be such a unique outcome with those two games, those two sports coming together. It would be a very unique process because with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, taking people down, there are moves in there of choking people out, putting them to sleep and whatnot, self-defense. But it'd be unique to see that where it's the game of basketball intertwined with the art form of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We'd have a lot of chaos and madness going on, but hey, it's my hypothetical question here. So that's what I'm putting together to create a different sports and whatnot. Let's see here. If people were required to post the bad as well as the good stuff that happened to them on social media, would social media platforms be more or less popular than they are now? Honestly, when I look at this, because it comes into the point of being transparent and vulnerable. We have a lot of individuals that use social media and they share all this stuff, but when it comes to the bass, nothing's shared, nothing's showed. And this was one thing that myself and Patrick, we met with a good friend of mine, Mary Biga, and Patrick had brought this up that a lot of people still end up looking at this idea of business and personal life is separated. But what happens is because you do that and you're separating them, you're not allowing people to really connect with who you are as an individual. You're not allowing to open up and show who you are and allow people to really get that deep connection with you as an individual. Mm-hmm. And so I look at it, the unique thing when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to live streaming, especially when I look at what I do, I am very open. I'm very transparent. I talk about everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the times of crying, the times of just being shown the emotions, being a human and whatnot. And it's one of those things that really we're missing out on. And it's one of those aspects that people will use social media to really pump up the good stuff, but then they don't share any of the challenges, any of the tough times, because we have a lot of people that are scared to be judged. We have a lot of individuals that don't want to show up and be true to themselves because they're still living by this creed of, let me show up as my pseudo self. I'm not going to show up as my true solid self because I'm scared and worried about what other people are going to think. It's like, screw that bullshit. Get that out of here. Be a human. Show up and let people get to know you. The people that resonate with the message and resonate with who you are as an individual will show up. The people that don't resonate with you, that aren't part of your journey, aren't part of your path, they're not going to show up. They're not going to stick around, which that's the great thing. Not everybody is meant to be part of the journey. Not everyone's meant to be part of what you're trying to accomplish or what you're trying to bring forth and whatnot, which is okay. And so that's where I look at this piece of the idea of creating as the Fuji lifestyle, having the piece of you either love me or you hate me. There's no in between. For me, it allows me to show up and be who I am. Because if you love me, cool. If you hate me, cool. That's your choice. That's your lens. But I'm not worried about trying to appease everybody. I'm not trying to worry about going and making everybody happy, because that's not going to happen. There's always going to be times, issues where you're not going to make everybody happy. Everybody's going to have their opinions. Everybody's going to have their lens that they're looking at life through. And so it's not going to match up. It's not going to resonate with everybody. And so instead of trying to push and trying to resonate with everybody, and you're putting out a lot of unnecessary energy because you're trying to appease everybody, show up as your true solid self and do what you do best. Go and play big, and you'll resonate. People will find you. People will resonate with you, and they'll show up. But it's a matter of you just showing up, playing big, and being true to yourself, being your true solid self. So I believe if we got to this point, but we also have some individuals that will use social media to go the opposite way, where they are all they're talking about, all they're sharing is the negative stuff, the bad stuff. They're trying to get the sympathy, and they're trying to play. They're getting into this issue of not getting into the victor role, but they're playing into the victim role, and they're over here over and over playing that bullshit to get people to sympathize with them or whatnot. And that's not good either, because now you're not taking your life into your own hands. You're allowing external circumstances, external situations to dictate and control who you are. And so I've talked about this. Everything that you need to do comes from the inside. And so your inside is going to impact your external world. But a lot of people have the external world that's allowing them to impact them, and it's driving their internal world, and they're all flipped upside down. They're like, what's going on here? But they keep playing into it because they get addicted to it. And then once you get addicted to it, you just want that high. You keep doing it to get that high. And so as it starts becoming the norm and you get used to it, people are finding different ways to make that high more impactful. So they drive it down, they go deeper and deeper with it because they're addicted to it. And so honestly, if people would have this very fair balance between the good and the bad, it would be a great thing, because we would be showing up and we would be humans. We would be showing up as our human self, as our true solid self, instead of somebody that we're not. Let's see here. Let's see. How would the world change if there was no internal monologue and everything you thought you spoke out loud? Well, think about that. Honestly, think about that for yourself. If there was no chance for you to keep your thoughts internal, having that internal monologue, that was taken away. That was stripped down. That's something that we don't own and we can't have anymore. But all your thoughts are spoken out loud. For you as an individual, what are you doing? How are you feeling? What are you going to do different if all your thoughts that you had to speak out loud? Now, think about that. Think about how you're probably freaking out. You're like, there's no way I would want to have my thoughts spoken out loud. So it's the same thing about how do you speak to yourself? How are you showing up? What are you doing different? And it stems down to your thoughts. What stories are you telling yourself? What thoughts are you stacking? And so just take the time and spend a day and be like, okay, this internal monologue I don't have. It's not here. So every thought I have, I've got to speak it out loud. And just think about look and visualize and see what that would do to you. What are you going to do differently now because you got to speak out loud every thought that you have? What are you going to do different? So I think it would ultimately, the world would be in a better place, because if we were speaking out our thoughts and we were mindful about what we're speaking to ourselves, like that would be huge to flip it, where people are like, I'm doing that. I'm not speaking negative to myself and having people look at me like crazy for having these thoughts that I have to speak out loud. So very, very interesting on that one. Let's see here. One more. Got two more. Let's see here. Would you rather? So let's pull up here. Would you rather have your flights delayed or always be cited by annoying people on a plane? First off, for me, I would rather be seated by the annoying people, because I honestly don't believe there are annoying people. I look at it as an opportunity to sit there and learn something new, learn from a different individual, because what determines what's annoying? That's your perception. That's how you look at life. So whatever you determine to be annoying, that's what's going to be attracted. So there's no annoying people. You just have people with different quirks, different flaws and whatnot. So, but for me, I'd always be seated by the annoying person based on this question here. Create a new friend, have a new friend coming off the plane, new connection. Let's go. Would you rather go without brushing your teeth for a year or have to use toilet water to brush your teeth for, oh my goodness. I would have to brush my teeth. If you want brushing without brushing your teeth for a year, your teeth are all jacked up. And I would much rather keep my real teeth instead of having fake teeth. So let's see, toilet water. You could take toilet water and boil it down. So you could clean up that water. It's just one of those things that it's just the thought of it coming from a toilet. Let's find a way to sterilize it. So plenty of different ways. So yeah, we'll go toilet water for a week, just because I want to keep my teeth and whatnot, and I love my teeth. So but ultimately, you've got to understand that you've got to go play with your blocks. You got to go build with your blocks how you want to build. You want to create what you want to create. So take your blocks and build the life that you want. Go and test it, get in your lab and create the test experiments, do the testing and experiment and see what works for you, and start doing that over and over again to really fine tune and find out who you are, what's really going to work for you, what's really going to be powerful for you, and go that route. It's your life. You're the master of building these blocks. So go and build your masterpiece however you want. But if you guys have any questions, you have anything going on, you want to kind of figure out a way to go from the baseline to thriving in whatever area that is, hit me up. Hit me up in the emails right there. You can send me an email. You can hit me up on YouTube you can go type a message on the YouTube channel for Two Native Sons, because with these live streams, these are all uploaded onto the channel. So everything that's been done that we've done live, it's right there. So right there, you can go make a comment. I'll see it. I'll follow up. We got the Twitch channel, also Instagram, anything like that. But hit me up. Let's sit down and talk, see what's going on, see where you're at and what you want to do. And then if you are looking to create a tribe and you're going through that divorce, or you've gone through the divorce, there is the Facebook group After Divorce Grace Laughter Lessons that's there for you as an individual to go and find your tribe, to build the tribe, find the individuals that you can be true to yourself, have that safe space, show up and play big, and find individuals that you can resonate with. And then, of course, there are different ways within Anchor. There is the aspect where you can provide a monthly donation that allows me to continue to create content, continue to come and share the different nuggets and the different values to give those out. But ultimately, I greatly am grateful. I'm grateful for everybody's support. Everybody that supports me lets me know the impact that's taking place, and just knowing that people are watching. But it is great to hear the feedback, to really get that. And it just speaks, because this is an intangible thing that's taking place. And so until you hear something, you just never know. It's not a tangible product where you can go eat it and then feel better, or go take it and feel better, whatever it is. This is an intangible process. This is an intangible thing. So I just never know until somebody comes and talks to me and openly lets me know and whatnot. So if you have any feedback, or for future shows, there's something that you'd like me to talk about, or if you got questions and comments and you'd like me to share it on the show, the email address right there that I put in the comments, and that's also in the show notes. Hit me up there. Send me your feedback, send me your comments, because ultimately this show is for other people, and this show is for you, my audience, my family. And if there's things going on, send me feedback and let's see. I'll see what I can do, what I can share, talk about, because as you know, I talk about whatever. I openly talk about whatever it is. So give me your feedback, provide me some suggestions, things that you'd like me to talk about and share. And I'm more than happy to do that, because maybe you're stuck and you don't know what to do, and you can share the experience and I can talk about it and give my outlook and my opinion. But ultimately, that's my opinion. But you can listen here and see if there's any tools that you're not seeing, or any ideas that you haven't considered that you can extract and whatnot. So, but again, appreciate you guys' support. Thank you for your time. Thank you for jumping on, checking out the live stream, or checking out the podcast, the audio parts. And other than that, I'll catch you guys next week. Enjoy your week. Have a great night. Love you guys. Peace out.